Good morning. This is the April 17th meeting of the Recreation and Trails Committee, the Village of Angel Fire, and the meeting is now called to order. The audience participants, our process is consensus based, so we invite you, if you have a question, raise your hand. We're not Robert Rules oriented, so it's hopefully a little more laid back than the formal status. Our own roll call, we're missing Lonnie, Patrick. Who else?
Matt. It's gonna be late.
Matt is
Jenna
and Jenna. Okay,
and Shay.
Shay. Okay, and next item, can the audience members introduce themselves quickly?
Sure, I'm Rebecca Barry.
Okay,
Oliver Bradley.
I'm Rob. Yes,
Joshua Harris.
hi. Good morning, everyone. In the back, yeah, we'll take the back row too. You're all.
Julie Collier.
Good morning, y'all. Any announcements? You had one, right? Or comments from the public?
Mine's
Either
a
one.
comment.
Sure,
May I go?
yes,
All right.
it's all blends together.
All right, so I am speaking on behalf of a village resident who came into the village on Monday. And she lives along the lake and she asked if it would be okay if she painted a rock in memory of her dog. Her dog just passed. And she also noticed a rock on this trail where a man lost his wife and he painted a rock in her memory. So she's asking for like a designated spot, if that's a thing, or if you guys needed inspiration for a trail. It could be, you know, a place where people come just to feel better. So I have 3 names if you guys care. It's a Grief Relief Trail. I've got Guardian Angel Trail or Angel Rock Trail. On behalf of the public, that's what I have. Do you guys have any questions?
Name those again. Great Relief
Oh, no,
Trail.
Grief Relief.
Grief.
Grief
Grief.
Relief, Guardian Angel Trail, or Angel Rock Trail. And those were just personal things I came up with that might be catchy or draw you to for that reason.
So that would be a resort trail. So we wouldn't have any jurisdiction over that.
Is it existing trail? Around
No,
the lake?
it could be an existing, she just brought this up, if we could designate a place, and I figured this would be the place to start since it was
Okay,
right.
not necessarily around the lake trail. but
Not necessarily, she mentioned that's where she lives, so she
Oh,
wanted
okay.
permission to just put it there for her convenience, that's a trail we can block.
So if that becomes a thing,
We have a cemetery.
we have a cemetery. So I've always had an issue with Parks and Rec departments letting everyone put a plaque on every bench and tree and
Sure.
because it like, wait a minute, where am I?
Mhm.
The idea of having a contemplative trail that is for the healing purposes
Yeah.
has a very different idea. So that's something that this committee could explore as a contemplative or contemplative trail that is kind of mental health oriented, so that
Sure.
veterans wellness, the veterans healing, others could have benefit from that sort of a
Yes, sir.
idea. So the idea with the painting the rocks, we'll bring Patrick into that conversation if it's gonna be on the resort and how we deal with that. Is there a policy or procedure or something that comes
Sure.
up if someone doesn't like the color and it can get weird, so we wanna make sure it doesn't
Yes.
get weird.
Agreed.
There are some plaques. I know there's like a deer crosses Via Del Rey. There's a plaque in the ground in memory of somebody
Yeah.
there. And then I think are some of the benches.
Some benches are.
Sometimes,
memory
yeah,
of
yeah.
Fish on,
Yeah.
There's some people that paint little rocks, they throw them out on the trail. I guess you're supposed to pick them up or just read the verbiage and move on.
Well, I think for her intention, it's a sense of a resting place,
Yeah,
so don't pick it up.
yeah, right. Well, kind of like, that's like some of the benches are, I think they're, since they're in memory of it, there's a bench there, that's for somebody to sit down.
Yeah.
So my action item I have is there a need for a policy or practice on memorial plaques, rocks, et cetera, on village resort trails. And how do we want to approach that? So,
Very well, I'll do digging on my end then and
okay,
see what I can find.
thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Other, comments, questions, announcements? Ronald? Okay, our March 20th meeting minutes. Any comments, additions, changes to those? So that was follow up on this agenda as well. Okay, so no comments, opposed to, approving the agenda?
The only thing I'd ask probably is maybe, if y'all wanna bump Kurt and them up to number one, cause I'm sure they've got a lot to do. Maybe we can get them first so they can get on with their day.
I think they could benefit from the parkour presentation,
Oh, okay,
so then they can bail.
oh, they could stay
Unless
for,
they
they
need
could
to
stay
stay-
for it.
Unless they need to stay and listen to you for a while.
No. You know me, I don't talk much.
Okay, approval of the minutes is done. So today's agenda approval, just to make sure we're on track, is we have first up is a presentation on parkour park obstacles. This idea came to us from Rebecca Berry when I was at I think a council work session in late fall. Second item is an update on Allen Fields for Manager Weir and Kurt Epler, Public Works Director. And then our third item is a follow-up on items we've been working on, including Frank Young, our trail map, working with the Shannon Circle Trails Association, annual report to council, Liberty Square Comp Plan National Trails Day. And we're going to wrap up with the reviewing our tasks and actions, establishing agenda for next meeting and establish next meeting date and time. Everyone okay with that agenda as we have prepared it? Okay. First up is Rebecca. Come on up and tell us about parkour parks.
Okay. Well, good morning. Thank you, Attila and the Recreation and Trails Committee for giving me time to share this morning. My name is Rebecca Barry, and my family and I have been coming up to Angel Fire for vacation for several years. We love it here. And as of this past December, we're now full-time residents. I want to present the idea this morning of adding a parkour area to the presumed skate park and bike track when they're built. Parkour is a sport that's gained popularity in the US since the early 2000s. Indoor and outdoor facilities are continuing to pop up around the US. The closest facilities to us here in Angel Fire are in Albuquerque and Colorado. My presentation this morning is in two parts. My first part is a long-term idea of adding a permanent parkour park area in when the skate park and bike track are built. My second request is to have a few movable obstacles built to be used until then, possibly coinciding with the skate ramp that's scheduled to be brought in on Saturdays this summer, or whenever there's availability to have obstacles set up. I will take any questions at the end. Please have slide 2. Okay, so this is one example of a parkour park. It is not uncommon for skate parks, bike tracks, and parkour parks to be combined in what are called action parks. Parkour parks can be scaled to a variety of sizes depending on space and funding. They can also be built out of a variety of materials. I've seen some simple parks use old tires, boulders, and pallets. Some are more professionally built like this one here. The aesthetics can be varied to fit the look of the village. I had the opportunity to meet and speak with Oliver Bradley last week, who has really great ideas for building a skate park combined with bike tracks. We ended up discussing how some skate obstacles and parkour obstacles are similar. Can I please have slide 3? Okay. After our chat, I found out that parks are being built called flow parks, where the obstacles for both skateboarding and parkour are combined. I would love to work with Oliver to create a park that considers the overlap, maybe a skills area, but also keep them separate enough where both sports have their own space, to prevent, traffic and collision issues. However, having a builder that can combine the sports well in one area would be efficient, attractive, and provide an opportunity for a wider group of people to interact. Now, my next slide, please. Okay. Having a parkour park can appeal to a variety of people of different ages and skill levels. It's a fun way to get outside doing physical activity. Parkour is another activity where people can be creative, problem solve, and socialize in person. One great thing about parkour is that anyone with a pair of sneakers can participate. This is also a way for the extreme mountain athletes to cross-train off-season, work on tricks, and get together, especially when the mountain is closed. Before COVID, there were gymnastics facilities in Taos that had time allotted for parkour athletes to train. Unfortunately, they closed during COVID and nothing is yet to reopen. I believe a parkour park would attract athletes from the surrounding areas looking for somewhere to train. It also adds something unique and different from the skate parks and bike tracks that are in Red River and Taos. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay. And if you want to, can you play that link? Okay, great. Okay, this is transitioning into part 2.
I don't think it'll let me because I don't have an Instagram.
Oh, you don't? Okay. Okay. Well, this was an example of how a park is used, how people jump over the obstacles and train on the obstacles. And it's also a friend of ours named McCoy. And he's a great athlete. He's a coach, and he has also designed the parkour area, which you're not able to see right now. But he's willing to sell blueprints for obstacles if needed. He's also capable with building or consulting in the process. If like 4 or 5 temporary obstacles are built, a person can get some training and basic skills down.
Hold on, don't forget what this. We'll look at this after.
Okay.
And perhaps we could share the, you can
Share the
share the link
slides?
to the power presentation of those all as well.
Absolutely.
Great. You can go on to the next slide. So our friend McCoy, he sent me some examples of obstacles and general pricing on lumber. For the 3 wooden obstacles that you can see there with pricing, that is the approximate lumber cost. He did estimate from a Home Depot in Houston, so I'm not sure how.
Oh, so we double it here for Alpine.
Would it be that much? Yeah, I don't know how much it would be up here, so that would be something to look into.
That's not true, is it, Jen?
No. Okay. So of course, labor would also need to be added into the cost. I would think if 5 were built, maybe around 1,000 is, again, just an approximate, but he did do wood measurements. And kind of estimate it out. So, as the weather is warming up, I would love to have some obstacles built soon. I also understand that this is a process that needs to be considered and takes time. Thank you all for joining me. I appreciate your time and consideration. I'm very happy to be part of this community, and I look forward to working with you to create an environment that adds to the beauty and joy that's already here. Thank you.
Questions from committee members?
Where in Albuquerque is there one?
There is I think it's called the Ninja Park, where they have Ninja and, I haven't actually been there. I'm pretty sure it's a gymnastics ninja type gym. There is.
Is it inside or outside?
It is inside. That one is inside. I know there are parkour athletes that train at the University of New Mexico on the campus outside. There is a gym in Santa Fe that's a gymnastics place that does teach, some parkour there. I haven't been there yet. I think it's probably pretty small, but.
So, risk management, if this is a village run, any more risk management issues for a parkour park than a skate park or a pump track that you're aware of, or?
I wouldn't think so. I think it is an extreme sport, or it can be, depending on how serious you are about it. So yeah, like skateboarding or mountain biking or skiing or snowboarding, it's certainly. I'd say
Yeah, but
having
most,
some-
most of those are not, run by municipality.
Right.
So
Understand that. Okay,
it's a question that will come up in more detail. I probably need some information on it. Is there more risk associated with that? I'm thinking not, but
yeah,
legal will ask that question.
right,
Risk
okay,
management will
yeah,
ask
I
that
wouldn't think so. My son is a parkour athlete and I've been in the parkour community for a while. Usually the athletes feel more stable because they're on their feet and they're in control of their own bodies versus being on wheels or something slippery that's, you know, you have a little less control over. Of course, the better you get, the more control. But yeah, I would say it is a sport where you can really work at your own pace and do what's within your comfort level.
And if something like that got built, even temporary or portable ones, are there folks in this community that can do instruction or teaching on how to learn the skills? Because what I
Yeah.
keep seeing happening is communities build facilities and then never do the programming associated with the new facility. So
Right,
people can put in a bike park but no one knows how to use bike
Right.
parks
Okay,
until someone
yeah.
teaches it.
so my son is actually a coach,
Okay,
so, he's 16, so I'm not sure if that's an issue. But he's been training for quite a few years, and, he has had experience coaching at 2 different gyms. at this point.
So is this like an obstacle course? I'm trying to wrap my head around
It
it.
is, it's,
You
it
just go
is,
around and jump on a box or climb a wall or
that's right.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different creative ways to use it. Some use it as just a simple obstacle course. Some
Okay.
may, you know, practice different tricks that they may want to bring on the mountain on it, or parkour is really, there's an art to it. There's a, you know, athleticism to it. There's kind of almost a ninja warrior type thing to it. So there's a lot of different ways, you know, people use a parkour park.
Are there events too, as far as competition?
There are, yes,
Tournaments, whatever?
there are,
Okay.
yeah.
So the deal is just like a race. You go through these obstacles in your best time. Is that what you're?
So there's different ways. There is the aspect of speed. How quickly can you get through these obstacles? There's also, you can compete in different categories. There's categories of who has the best style, you know, as they move through the obstacles. And who has the best tricks. Sometimes they'll have a big trick competition where whoever has the coolest trick on an obstacle wins. So there's a lot of different categories. Yeah, it's similar.
Is there a master's division?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, yeah,
Yeah,
they do break
yeah.
up in different, you know, age groups and
Yeah.
levels and stuff, so.
you guys could jump into that.
No, he did the super master.
Super master.
Well, very interesting. We'll take a look at that, and I'm sure there's YouTube videos out there of events, so everyone could just search parkour on YouTube and find some examples of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, there's a few different leagues, that run the competitions, around the country, around the world.
Okay. And Oliver, so you're already starting to think about how this would get incorporates into the bike track, pub track, skate park
Yeah,
concept?
Rebecca got in touch with me and I was really glad actually. I had just done a presentation about doing the skate sculpture project for the festival coming up.
Mm-hmm,
So I've just been in high school, I just started going once a week to work with the construction class. And with the art kids as well.
nice.
And so we went and made a presentation at the high school. And one of the first people who came up to talk to me was Rebecca's son, Austin. And he was really keen, which obviously the response we want when we go and do a presentation at the high school. It was really well received in general. But Austin in particular came up and said he was a skateboarder and he's a parkour athlete and started talking to me about it. I think we're probably going to be able to incorporate a few elements from the skate sculpture in the budget that we've got for that. Hopefully we can make a few of the smaller obstacles just as I don't know, just like an introduction, and also to encourage, you know, when the kids are enthusiastic about something athletic, not on a screen, and
Yeah.
are physically wanting to get involved, then I'm going to do whatever I can to encourage them. So I think we've got a good start with the budget and the stuff that we're doing for the skate festival. I think we've got a good start to do something. And then obviously the council and you guys need to work out what budgets are available and what you would like to do and how you'd like to move forward sort of thing. But it does fit in really well with skateboarding, so.
If, if this committee sort of endorsed this idea of parkour being a valuable asset, and then the village went along with that as well and endorsed it. Those little features aren't that expensive. Is it possible to do sponsorships by different businesses in town to put out $500 to materials or whatever to construct a temporary obstacle? So that may be an opportunity, but I think it would probably take something from this committee in the village saying, yeah, we would support this for you to go, if you want to go out in advance and try to get some sponsorships for some of the features possibly. That might be a thought as well.
Okay.
And then incorporate with lodgers tax to let them know there's more activity to the skate park event. You know, adding some more to it.
When is that event?
It's on July 26th and 27th,
Where's it gonna be at?
Liberty Square.
Okay.
So
We're gonna Friday night concerts there too,
So we're setting up
There's a lot happening.
the skate ramp will be set up on, I believe, by June 14th. And then every Saturday morning, we're running beginners clinics. And maybe we can incorporate some parkour stuff in there too, if we've got the obstacles built by then. I don't see why not.
What's the bare minimum course? I mean, you don't want just 2 boxes out there, so.
No, I was
Yeah.
recommending 4 or 5,
Okay.
you know, to start working on some,
Skill sets.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think if you have, you know, a variety, like 4 or 5, it gives people an opportunity to get started, yeah.
Okay.
Does your son have to sign any liability release forms when he's, you know, doing this at any gyms that he's working at, do you know? Kind of like the resort does?
Yeah, I think when he was, well, he would coach at a gym, and every student who comes in and participates at the gym would have to sign a waiver.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, well, thank you all, thank you very much.
Down the Supermaster's course would involve stepping off a curb.
Tires. My butt.
Getting out of the tires, getting out of the bathtub.
I think any indoor facility requires the waivers. I think outdoor is kind of.
Yeah, usually most municipals, it's at use your own risk for public stuff, but I think it's still, I think there's still some standards of care and protocols involved in how you set these spaces and distances and stuff.
Kind of visualize it as the dangerous as a playground.
Mhm.
You know, like.
I mean, let me
Some of that stuff.
Let's climb on.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, next item on the agenda is Allen Field update from Manager Weir and Public Works Director Epler.
Warning committee. Obviously, Manager Ware's not able to be here right now, but I wanted to give you an update of where we're at on starting construction on Allen Fields. I will say that it does appear that we can install the water and power infrastructure and lights all within budget of funding that's currently available. We do have the floor plan of the option for the concession bathrooms that we'd like to proceed with. Only thing to note, the location of the water heater, it's not gonna be right there. That's really relevant at this point, but. Yeah. Up, around it or over it.
Yeah.
We actually, the task today is the right of ways where the utilities are gonna be installed or being mowed right now. And potentially by the end of the day, we'll be exposing the water tie-in and start the water line installation. Everything is staked out from Kit Carson for the primary power. Final transformer size is to be determined between the electrical engineer of Dennis Engineering and the vendor. which the estimates that we have in the preliminary workup is with Musco Lighting, a very well-known firm throughout the country. And everything's progressing really well on that. We just got we'll get the purchase order for the pipe materials today. But we're gonna go ahead and start with pipe that we have in stock in our water department and just replenish our stock when the other order comes in. We are looking at running a 6-inch water line that'll facilitate 3 fire hydrants, one at the entrance, one at the halfway point, and one in the vicinity of the sign over by the fields. From there, more than likely it'll be a 2-inch line across to the facility. A couple of things that I've added myself beyond the engineer's design is frost-free water hydrant at the facility. We'll also put a frost-free hydrant in between the fields behind the backstops where the pavilion will eventually go. And also have a stub out in the future for the pavilion that would go over by the parking area. We'll also stub out a future for a 2-inch line to potentially go towards the area where the dog park is now, in case any facilities decide to be placed down there, close to where they're drawn in right now. Everything's on track, going good. We will be doing this infrastructure work in-house and with members of our water joint utility department and some members of our streets department. We're all gonna get involved in installing this, so will be a significant savings. Back to this floor plan, it is a 26 by 30 footprint. And of course, we can provide more brochures. Right now, we didn't really want to get caught up in colors and details and so forth and so on. But I think one thing that would like everybody to start thinking of is this building, you can have options of a porch or awning built over. One example we have is that porch is built over the entrances to the bathrooms. Some of us feel that having the porch over the concession area would actually be better, for various reasons. One, to provide a little bit of shade for the people working at the concession when the sun's just right, eventually. So, does anybody have any questions on this floor plan?
Is there gonna be like a commercial kitchen kind of thing?
It won't be a commercial kitchen
Just
and
heating up
the
hot dogs and stuff?
yeah, well, the sink options that they show here, essentially, we're looking at sinks. If we get into any kind of cooking equipment or anything like that, there's a lot more involved.
Okay.
And at this point, and the sink configuration can be changed in many different ways. They show an option of a floor mop sink. It's a pretty expensive addition, believe it or not. And a 3 compartment sink, that's a lot of sinks, plus a lavatory. So all that is, got options on it.
Yeah, you probably just need more counter space, or room to bring in tables.
A microwave or something?
Yeah, because there'll be plugs for all that stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So for now, you're installing the utility infrastructure. Then what's kind of the goal what the next step as far as proceeding with this building? Is that?
Well, the first step was we got an estimate and it's right around $340,000. This is a 3-piece unit that's built off site, brought in. It includes the floor. So this isn't a situation where we're pouring a slab and they're setting it on top. This is all one unit. All we have to do is create a subgrade to set the building on. They set at least 8 inches of base course. But with the load bearing rating of the soil that we have in the area, what we're probably going to be doing is is over Xing and putting it on about a 3 foot layer of engineered fill.
So, funding for that still up in the air or?
Yes, I know there was discussion about trying to tie this in with the Trails Grant. Because it's possible that the money can be achieved for this, and because it's at the end of the trail. And it's go in, it's big on, I'm saying, right? But I think that, that's kind of the direction.
Yeah, the Trails Plus grant, the plus part of that grant can be used for restroom facilities. Anything that's at the end of the trail, or at the trailhead parking facilities. So the Trails Plus grant is eligible for restrooms and things like that, so it can be applied to there.
So is this something you're hoping to have done this year?
I would like to order it this year.
I'd like to get it ordered this year.
The build out is 120 days. The hardest part is getting a state engineer stamp on the plans. That's the longest part. It can take up to 5 months for that. But our engineer has worked with this company before. This company has a statewide price agreement with Sourcewell. They're a purchasing like cooperative. So we wouldn't have to go out for RFP.
And were you hoping to do the grants plus application? I think it was sometime due in March.
I believe Mr. Rocky Lira is handling that grant.
That's due in March, Rocky?
I'm sorry.
The Trails Plus grant, the next tier
Of March.
is due in March.
Right.
Okay. So we would have to have the design of the Wright County Extension Trail done by then to submit, if it's gonna be all part of the one grant application.
Yeah, that's correct. Okay, so Trails Plus, the bigger regional grant or the is the one you want to pursue to this facility, which makes sense, does it anchors into the end of the trail. So that's valid on that.
On a lighter note, I will say that I sent an email to Greg Ralph asking if he could just transfer over $340,000 to the loggers tax. He didn't jump all over that.
Still waiting for a reply.
Never heard stats.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're really excited to get started on this and, I've been chomping at the bits and it's gonna be nice for all this to come into play. So I think as far as details, colors, schemes, so forth and so on, I think it can be a discussion for another time. If you guys wanna look at the floor plan, I think it serves well. You know, initially we were talking about, 2 stalls in each. It's really not much different to have 3. And it's better to have 3 and not need them. And instead of 2 and need more.
And just, you'll have electrical outlets up high on these other end walls on the concession building.
Yeah,
I mean, I know this in time, but I think on the drinking fountain, it'd be good to have one of the water bottle filling
absolutely.
stations there versus just a fountain, so it encourages people to reuse their Gatorade bottles more. Okay,
What is a cane skirt? On the water fountain.
that looks like it's an accessible fountain to me,
Oh,
so you can roll up to it.
okay, yeah.
I've never heard of a cane scare, but that sure looks like it's an accessible designed,
Well, I think the units that have the, where you can fill your water bottle and everything actually have a filtration system in them too.
right.
You know, something, you know, everybody will need to be aware of. The distance of pipe that's holding water going to this facility, you'll need to definitely be aware of when we open up in the spring to flush the lines really well. Stagnant water can get not so desirable. Have mentioned that to the engineer to have an option at end of line over here to be able to flush the line out completely. And obviously, we want to make sure that incorporated in the plumbing design, there's means to easily drain and winterize everything.
So it's gonna be built at the very end of the facility,
Yes, sir.
and there's gonna be a corridor on each side to go around to the
Yes.
bathroom.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
what's the width on that?
We have a 50, it's either 50 or 60 feet
Okay.
at that corridor. And obviously that, there'll be a big corridor until the other two fields are built.
So will the construction you're doing this summer, affect any of the events planned out there or activities or?
No, I've already, spoke with Shay and we'll be in communication. Any of the work that, crosses the road or anything like that, we'll coordinate at times when there's no events. Because many of the events happen on the weekend. We do have other events during the week, soccer practice, so forth and so on, that generally happen in the evening. And we'll just coordinate the work to accommodate that. And the intent is to, in our excavation, I'm a guy that when I'm laying pipe, I like to be able to backfill right, lay pipe and fill the ditch right away. There will be a time where it's challenging, where we'll have some open trench because the primary power is going to be direct bury, so we'll have to dig the entire stretch from section wiser to section wiser, and then they put the wire in and cover it. But we'll take all measures to keep everything as safe as possible.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Chris, anything from the television audience?
Well, I just appreciate your, we know that the expertise you bring to the village is a big part of why all this can happen, so we appreciate it.
Well, anything that gets us closer to getting that skate park in. My youngest son and Mr. Billingsley, I think played a big part in trying to get it on everybody's radar. So yeah, I'm really excited about all this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie. All right, item number 3 for us here is, first up is Frank Young Extension Trail. Any updates on that? Mr. Lira?
Good morning. Meeting Chair, new members. For the Frank Young Trail Extension, that was granted, the grant by the Economic Development Department for $99.9 thousand. The last update I think I gave you, we were kind of waiting for a contract, signed contract. Well, we did get that. And unfortunately, it's set in a inbox that was not assigned to me. And they finally they did send me an email, saying you gotta check your inbox, and I was gonna check my inbox and check it out. Well, they sent us a PO for the $99.9 thousand, which is different than I've ever seen in grants. And so what they needed from us is they needed for us to invoice them for this money. So we just got the invoice sent off this week. So we're just waiting for that money to be funded. So that's the first update on that. The second update I have is, last time you all discussed, we were talking about an engineer for this project. And I think, this committee had come up with a lot of suggestions on different, engineer names and that kind of thing. Yeah, engineers that were focused on trails. And, unfortunately, I guess, based on my research, we're gonna use Tappan. The reason we're using Tappan is because he is our designated on-site engineer with a contract here with the village. If we go outside of this, we will have to go to RFP, as it will exceed $60,000. So that was just a thought I wanted to bring to the table here. In my dealings with Tappan, I mean, he's been very successful in everything he's done for us anyway. For the workforce housing, one of the elements of his civil engineering project was to do an environmental and biological assessment. Now, he didn't have that expertise. So what he did is he subcontracted with somebody who did have that expertise under his contract. And so we were able to go ahead and go forward with that. And I have suspicion that if he has some things that he can't do or not equipped to do regarding this trail, that he would there subcontract with somebody that could do that. And so my thought was that I was going to provide him some of the names that you all provided me. I'd probably like an update on that if possible, on different names so that he could subcontract with those folks to do the engineering on this trail.
Well, I think also even with the design, with, you know, this committee, with everybody's, y'all's professional backgrounds, would be able to have just direct input with him on the designs and materials, working with Tappan on that.
I still feel that the cost estimate's gonna double because of the engineering and all the subcontractors. So what could be a $500,000 contract, will end being $750 with that. So last night, Santos and I were talking with, Ken Romig, Consensus Planning. You have a contract with Consensus Planning. They have the same type of, agreement with the state, being able to do work in the village. It seems reasonable that Consensus Planning could be a firm of choice, since they're already within your legal framework to use them. So I was actually gonna forward that scope of work that I developed and shared with the committee and with you and with Councilor Weeks and Shay, share that with Santos. Consensus seems very interested in that. They have experience in trail design and construction. So they too would also subcontract out the environmental compliance components, because that's a very specialized business.
Yeah, this grant is not requiring that, but
It will in construction.
it could have during construction.
Yes, it will in construction. So right now, we're not there, but
Right.
construction firm, I think the scope of work that we are asking them to be thinking about that, because we're not gonna get construction money if there's a lot of unanswered questions on environmental compliance.
Right.
So if we don't have,
Exactly.
we don't have a Corps of Engineers permit to cross the creek and put a bridge in, why would the state give us money for constructing that?
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah.
I think, the scope of work is to do the environmental assessment as a part of this, piece.
So, I guess the question I do have is, do we have a pretty solid scope of work defined? I provided a draft.
I shared
know it
that
was-
back with you on March 27th.
Right, is that all we have so far?
The one I shared that put in a whole bunch of bullets that identified it, I believe that's as far as we
As
got.
far as you got, okay, all right. So I'll take a look
I
at
don't
that.
think any committee members had a few, we had a few additions.
Yeah, we had committee members
Okay.
having some input.
That would be a key element to provide to the consensus planning group and
Yeah.
to tap in. It'd be good to get us a couple of quotes. And then I can present them to the committee and see what y'all think. Does that work with y'all?
Yeah, and there's probably a couple of modifications to this already, because I am of the, I was under the hope that Youth Corps could do most of this construction. I mean, there's walk behind bulldozers or walk behind buckets and all the things that youth can use. However, I think most of the youth funding was pulled yesterday. And I don't think we're gonna have youth corps to do that. So we may have to go with contractor and construction.
Get your tractor out there. My tractor's available, 100%.
I think everybody's learning how to do that lately.
Yeah.
I can drive bulldozer.
So the plan would be, once we get the design stuff done, we would submit for the grant plus with a tier 2 or tier 3 for the construction.
Right.
And that application would include the
The
concession
site.
restroom building. And you said that's due, at first I said March, but
Well,
it
no,
was in
I
July.
have to look at that. It's sometime this summer. I don't know.
Yeah,
exactly.
sometime this summer.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't see how that's gonna timeframe.
This
Well,
trail design person can probably wrap this up pretty quick. So if we get a scope of work done, and they get a budget on this, I think it's pretty easy to submit a grant, because we know the budget of this, we know the budget of the bathroom facility.
But to have all the, like you said, the permit to cross the creek, the whatever else environmental stuff that has to be done.
It's possible if our new planning director came from Corps of Engineers, he may also have a little pull in helping us work that permit.
Cause I mean, it's already, last part of April. I think, now that I recall, I thought it was due in July. And that just,
I haven't looked at that.
if we haven't even selected a design firm yet, I mean, we may be a month away from selecting the design firm.
Unless they're already within state contract, then it's easier to just add to existing contract. So if Consensus or Tappan or whoever is already within the formality of the village,
Yeah.
it's easier to amend an existing contract and say, we need to add this.
Basically, we just
scope of
extend it,
work.
add some more money to
But
it
you'll send the statement of work out to both of those firms
to get quotes,
in the next,
right? And
to get quotes, then the quote's gotta be evaluated, then,
it's not that final.
yeah.
It's kind of the same level of evaluate as it would be. for
No.
Bids.
Okay.
Yeah, and even though we do get quotes, we don't have to pick the lowest, we pick the one we want. Okay,
Well, we'll need to get some push from the resort to finalize.
Yeah, we need to know the final alignment, which is
Alignment.
still, yeah,
that's
cause they
still,
can't design the
that's still
trail.
weighing out, that's right.
Can't design the trail if,
That hasn't been
We don't-
resolved yet.
no.
It's lot 192, 193 they talked
Yeah.
about.
And that could, just when we were looking at that map earlier, if we have to stray off of that, sewer easement and say swing way out, either way,
Right.
I mean, we could have a completely different trail. I mean, the sewer easement was pretty, straight flat. Or if we get down into grade and need to, worry about the 5% grade and have to do turns and stuff, we may need a lot more. The design seemed like would be a lot more involved.
Put in reverse grades, so.
I don't think I'll go that far. So the action here is, time is of the essence if we're gonna go after a Trails Plus grant in the summertime. So the action is to, share the scope of work that, I believe you guys has responded to everybody on the comments. So, my action, I'll go back and look at the comments, see if I need to edit this one more time. Then I will share this scope of work with, you
That would
and
be great.
Santos.
That would be great.
Santos can get it to Consensus since he seems to be the point of contact and
We'll
you
get
can
it
get
tapped
it
in.
happen.
And, the thing is our scope of work, we need to make it such that it's, doable under our grant monies, $100,000 plus the match, which is another 50,000. So hopefully everything for the whole engineering project would be ideally under 150,000.
Yeah, I don't see this over 50, but
You don't think so?
Maybe some surveying.
I think so.
plans.
And that's that gonna include, I mean, we got legal work to get the easements. And
Yeah.
stuff.
but that would not be on the contract. That would be village staff. That's in conning work for that kind of legal stuff. That's not on the
And that
contract.
can be part of the 50.
Okay, share scope of work with, Rocky and Santos.
That'd be super. And if I get that, then I can feel pretty sure.
I mean,
we
you
can
do
get-
have the one that I shared on Mark 327, so take a
There
look.
were comments, okay, and I wasn't sure.
No, I did a Word document
You know,
that,
what the word,
I did a whole Word document and bullet pointed 2 pages of scope of work ideas. You have that.
Okay.
That was 3 weeks ago. Okay,
That
Anything
go to
else
the
on
whole
that?
committee?
Chris, one more time?
Did that go to the whole committee? That didn't ring
It
a
did.
bell.
Yeah, I
Okay,
shared it with everybody.
have to find it.
There's comments about, confusion between what Rocky put out and what it was. There was comments on that, but then I went back and did an entire scope of work. And I'm pretty darn sure I shared with the whole committee, because I looked back at it.
I remember Shay sent something out, I believe, with Rocky, which you guys had already had from way back when.
right,
I know
there's a previous.
people were adding comments to that.
Right.
And see, that's what I remember. I don't remember
I
it
don't
polished.
necessarily
I'm
remember
pretty
that.
sure sending this out to everyone. But I will share it again.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Copies of that real quick.
Well,
Sure.
That's enough, everybody.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, anything else on Frank Young?
Any other questions on that? Or?
Yes, Kurt.
Just a comment, heard you mention, bridge crossing, over the Senegia. If, the bridge bridge option probably would be better, because if you're looking at a pipe option, that's when you get into needing the 404 permit. And obviously, if if it's designed for 50-year event, the piping requirement would be significant, similar to what you see anywhere where main roads are crossing. So I do know that the trail that's south of us here that has the bridge on it, Dennis Engineering did that project, and they have a source for prefabricated bridges of all different sizes, and might be a good option. And not that a 404 permit is impossible or anything like that, but know that the requirements could turn it into a very intrusive thing with larger pipe size.
You better have, the bridge footings pretty much outside the immediate water flow area, so we're lessening impacts. Culverts also, always impact natural flow.
Yeah.
And so you have issues with sediment loading and blockage and.
But if we're approaching, getting close to the point where this is gonna be put in Tappan's hands to start a design, it'd be better to know ahead of time that, and settle in if you're gonna do a bridge.
I think we've always all been
Yeah.
a bridge.
Yeah, I think it looks a lot better here, so.
Wide enough for adaptive purpose.
Yes. There's Continental Bridge and a couple other pre-manufacturers just drop a bridge in place, just crane it in, they assemble them remotely, 410, rustic 410 look, drop them in place and.
They have all the necessary railing.
Yeah.
already.
It's similar to the one that's out there now, the one that crosses over.
I believe so, yeah, that's a prefab. Okay,
That's all I have as an update.
thank you.
Thanks, Rock.
All right, item B, trail map and brochure, any activity on that? I know Jeff shared maps with me, all the mapping stuff, but I have not done anything with that. Do we have a committee lead that wants to help, maybe meet with, resort and tourism, Greg, to help advance, revising the map brochure? And I think our only role in that would be, an edit, looking at what needs to be updated, let others do the work.
It's the resort that has the digital.
Does that work with Greg Ralph or
Probably Greg and then,
is, you got a sidekick too
Brandon.
that.
So that, and then, Patrick could tell us who at the resort, would be on point on that. So if we want to get that done, it seems like by the time in the May rolls around, we've got about a month and a half to try to work on that.
What about the existing trail maps?
It's about revising the existing trail map. So we've talked about several things. One is,
Frank, you know, do this.
yeah, we've talked about several things in the trail map brochures. One is to remove some of the language in there that says that it's, also managed or maintained by the trekkers and some others, taking some of that issue out.
I think the last one is yours.
And then, another thing about a QR code version, so people can, have a digital version on the map boards, the kiosks.
And that's easy to update.
Yeah. Right.
So
But there's also an issue with QR codes. I think
Yeah,
Chris was bringing up that they can be easily hacked and you end up on a porn site when you pull it up. So, that's something we gotta consider, but I know you shared maps with me. You got those? I was asking if there's someone from the committee that wants to help coordinate. I think our role, committee, Council Weeks, is just to take a look at the existing map, make edits, notes and changes, but it's up to the graphic designers and tourism to do the graphic work.
Agreed.
So,
Because I mean, like y'all were talking about at some point, putting level difficulties, elevations, those are things we could do
yeah,
as later as we go along.
And we're talking about the printed maps that we have now that we.
put into the
And
kiosks.
then are you also talking about there's maps at the trailheads?
The ones that,
Doing those?
redoing, that's the one that we're talking about, redoing the ones at the trailhead.
Yeah. We're redoing the one at the trailheads as well as the printed paper map that gets handed out. And then all the stuff on websites. Apps maps and so forth. Because right now there's different versions on different, you know, the printed version's different from what's on websites, which is different from what's at the kiosk.
There's nothing at the kiosk.
Well, isn't there some, no, I mean, there's the big poster.
Yeah, the big posters there, but.
But that, which,
never.
that's where it says about who's
Yeah.
responsible for maintenance and so forth. On the printed copy map, I don't think it references, who's responsible for trail maintenance, but the issue we had with that was it shows that some of the unauthorized trails in the forest, you know, Ho Chi Minh and what to do, stuff like that.
So,
So you're still looking for somebody. to
yeah, we need
head
a
this
coordinator
committee.
on that. You've also
I
got,
could reach out because I got the health conditions anyway.
you've got to do the assessments and get some, like that. So recommendation is, our committee recommendation, probably, maybe we should draft something, is to, our goal is to have a comprehensive Angel Fire Trails map that shows village trails, resort trails. Eventually it would indicate, adaptive opportunities on that, so we have a little more information on the trail stuff. You know, we talked about, grades, conditions for departure, all those stuff that's related to, accessible on the trail, so other can use that, so we look at that. And updating the kiosk maps.
Which we have enough, I mean, there's a lot of inventory from last
Yeah,
year.
that's what I heard.
So we have enough for
To push them out there.
immediate, there's no rush,
Okay.
but it would be, yeah.
See, on the National Trails Day, we were planning on basically getting those maps and giving the people as we go through those hikes and.
Greg has a pretty big
Greg has them
inventory,
now.
so yeah, he has. He would give you whatever you needed, as long as it was.
Cause right now, the holder for that is like this tall, so if you put one in there, it drops to the bottom, you can't get them out.
Yeah, maybe we can make different holders.
So, yeah, I mean, just
Some
people
That'd
are
be
putting
part of our
rocks in them now,
recommendations.
so.
Fill them with foam.
Trash.
I mean, I would say part of our
Trash.
recommendations would be things like that, you know.
Yeah.
Remove the language about who's responsible. We need different boxes to hold printed maps. We need a QR code.
Right,
On
can't be
the,
hacked.
yeah, that can.
So does anyone want to work on a letter like that, or so to share with the committee that we can forward to, maybe to tourism and to the resort? Need a volunteer. Come on. Let's put it in bullet points for now.
I'll do it.
Thank you, Tim. Remember, someone is not at this meeting, so we can't assign anything to somebody or
Sure
someone.
you can.
No.
They're not here, you can't.
They're not here.
But they don't want to get done. If you want it done, you can't assign to those.
It's like
people.
automatic.
They ain't here. Okay,
The idea is not show up at the meeting.
But
Right.
it worked the opposite way.
okay. Any comments from the television audience and phone audience on that?
I would, I kind of agree with Tim. This is kind of like a multi-function kind of effort, but the first thing that we could easily get done would be the paper maps.
I'll see if I can't. Holders, see if I can't come up with something for holders. I'll go look at what you got.
Yeah, they just need to like be happening.
Little plastic, something.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if you have a cut
Yeah,
down the
you
center
probably
of
take the
it,
old
you
ones.
can easily push it out.
Yeah,
So you
I'll go
just
look
say
at
you-
something.
You can
Yeah, yeah.
take the
Grinder,
ones and cut them
yeah,
down,
tool.
or like he says, put a,
Yeah.
just take
Better
a
than
powder
fill
and cut it.
it with rocks.
I'd
raise
be
it.
willing to donate those.
Yeah.
I can find some that work.
So you know when they first came up with Iron Rangers, all the self-contained feed drop things for state parks, those were all the things were getting ripped off, and so this made me think what people were doing was taking a coat hanger, heating up bubble gum and sticking it in there and pulling it. So we could just leave a coat hanger there with some chewing gum and you could pull your map out.
And a lighter.
And a lighter. Well, I can't use lighters though.
Oh, yeah.
Spark or something.
Yeah.
I wouldn't start a fire.
Well, part of that whole thing is the replenishment, I mean.
Last year we talked about everyone's gonna get assigned a kiosk and do it, but it didn't happen.
Well, if I find, I'll look for boxes, holders, and when I do, and if I get I guess I need to ask the resort if it's okay if I install.
Yeah, because most of them, all of them are short.
And then.
I think that's one thing, you just do it. I don't think they'd ever notice.
I ask Patrick,
Ask Patrick.
I'll get Patrick.
Just donate, you can write it off then.
Yeah, I mean, then I'll just fill them up when I install them.
With a week's group little flyer, yeah.
Wait, I hadn't thought of that, to be honest.
Bye.
Hey, so,
Yeah.
this is not a this summer, this is like a year-long effort to really get to where we wanna be with maps and QR codes and updates and bigger kiosk signs. So it's almost, this is gonna need us to have a work session, probably to come up with a pretty good timeline on how all this gets done and who's the point person on it. So this is not a, one person does the whole thing to leave it alone, but it's gonna take some effort.
I'll go ahead and proceed in drafting this bullet point.
Yeah.
Things of what things need to be done.
Exactly, and then we can come back and look at that and say, what's the timeline look like for all this?
And maybe have a quick chat with Greg. Before you do, that way we can see where they're.
Well, I think the first thing is the recommendations. Our committee recommends that the trail maps,
Be
the
updated
kiosks
to
include these elements.
Well, right, but I think he's gonna have some also updates to go with that.
Right. Well, they'll
Yeah, yeah.
ultimately do the update.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I mean, they can take our recommendations.
we'll just start there, okay.
But they may, yeah. I
Or
just
they may
wanna-
already be proceeding with something.
Right,
We don't want to
exactly.
come in
we
with our
wanna-
recommendations and just say, well, we just ordered those 10,000 maps last week.
Exactly, I understand.
Yeah.
That's what being on the.
Yeah.
So follow up with Ralph, Greg first. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
All right, the next item is, ECTA proposal.
Yeah, I reached out to Lauren. I haven't heard back from him. I will reach out again and make sure I can try to get him for our next meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's out of town,
Off the grid.
he's off the grid. No cell
Okay.
service, no email,
What's that?
no cell service or email.
Okay, gotcha. Well, do you know when he may return onto the grid?
Well, his email, it was an auto reply and it didn't indicate when he's gonna be back. I got a reply from Courtney, but I can ask her when he's gonna be back. But
Okay,
she told me that they got a lot of budget cuts and they're not gonna do anything for NTD or participate in anything there. So it's kind of discouraging.
Which in some ways
We
means
move forward.
he needs the money from
He
us
needs
more
the
than
money
ever.
from us.
They have to do the
Yeah.
work we wanna have done,
Right.
whether it's.
The price may have just gone up.
Yeah.
And we'd be a priority then if we're the only ones giving them money.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Matt. Annual report to council. Matt, I think you had the responsibility to, send a memo with that annual report to the village.
Yeah, so I have that drafted and ready to go. I'll drop it in the group email as soon as we're done here.
Okay, so
'Cause
you're
I
gonna
was
share,
supposed to create kind of like an introductory paragraph, correct?
yes.
Okay, yep, that's done. I'll drop it in the chat as soon as we're done.
Okay, and then if you need approval from us before you send it off to, the manager and the mayor?
Okay, sure.
Is that what you want? Or you wanna
If
do-
that's what you want, or I can send it directly to him. If you guys want to double check my work, that's okay. But I mean, it's only 4 or 5 sentences.
Yeah, just send it.
Well, one thing we said in there too was, you were gonna include some comment about recommendations for additional representation on our committee from a recreation focused person. Have you included anything in that?
I did not. I'll make that note right now, and I'll get that added.
Y'all hear that back there in the back? You gonna say that again?
Well, we discussed, right, so at the last meeting, we discussed that we're trail focused and not recreation focused. Recreation was an added responsibility of this committee. We started out as the Trails Committee. Then recreation got added as a responsibility or focus for this committee also. So
Looking for another.
we're looking for somebody on the committee that's more of a recreation focus as opposed
Who you
to
looking at,
everybody
Jeff?
being more.
The audience. I just didn't know if they heard you
Yeah.
say that.
And usually it's the village council that appoints membership, so that's our report to council. We wanted to include some comments to council to, if they have somebody they would like to nominate.
Yeah.
To the committee, that would fill that.
Or if you're interested,
Or
you
if you're
can
interested, you
let Counselor Weeks
let-
know.
yeah.
We would be looking for, yeah.
Yeah, cause, yeah.
So part of this is, yeah. So part of this is that, you guys, if you're interested in the recreation side of this, is very valuable. We need that perspective. And then we also, the programming side of this, the youth program, the summer camps, the pickleball, all the activities, all we really have is Shay representing that from the community center. And she's pretty overwhelmed with her roles and is not, I don't think is bringing enough, voice to recreation programming, events, other things into this committee. So I think we need that voice to help us broaden. Do you agree with that? Okay, so I think that's a recommendation. Matt, we just kind of said that we need a recreation, voices to events, activities, programming.
Is there anybody in
Yep, got it.
the audience that we might want to put in this note that says, hey, this person is interested?
Well, we would definitely like to put it out there that they, we are looking for.
Yeah.
Someone with that
The
background.
skateboard committee's kind of been a subcommittee to this. We could maybe elevate that. If you wanna,
Sure, I'd be happy to help any way I can.
okay, all right. So, submit your resume to,
Both of Jeff.
yeah. So if you guys wanna talk to Jeff about that, he can put your name forward to the mayor that these are good opportunities, or even you, Rebecca, if you're interested, opportunities to join this committee. We're a fun committee.
And we don't necessarily have to limit it to one edition.
No, we do not. No,
Because it would help, the more we have, the more when we get
It
into our
could be, it could
rotation.
be another subcommittee, really. Maybe.
Well, it was, and then we kinda, I mean,
Since we're consensus based, we're not limited to have, uneven to have even votes on stuff. So everything we do is based on consensus that as we move forward. So if someone's totally against having a skate park, we would expect that person would probably bow out, but agree that, okay, I don't like skate parks, but I support the decision of this committee. I'm not gonna interfere with it. So we also have a complete charter that talks about our deliverables, our milestones, so you guys can review that and see what we're trying to accomplish as a committee before you make a decision, so we can share those documents with you guys.
And we decided Matt can just go ahead and proceed. We don't need to look at it.
Matt, you can proceed with the memo that we're looking for recreation representatives. And just go ahead and send that to the mayor and the village manager, please.
Okay, copy.
Okay. All right, Liberty Square, item E. We're doing good here. We're gonna wrap through the last couple of things. Liberty Square, there's a meeting yesterday, or a gathering, with consensus planning and formative architecture. It was dealing with two parts. One was the Liberty Square kind of footprint of what it is. How it's gonna work and how it ties into the Frank Young Trail. And then the second part was the 21 to 28,000 foot event center that is being kind of scoped out by formative architecture. So pretty good conversation all around that, lots of discussion on the footprint of parking, which I started that little hornet's nest of discussion. And the need for some recreation amenities within the Liberty Square thing, just to show the vibrancy of the space versus being stale and only there for, music on weekends and sort of thing. So the one thing I threw out towards the end was that it's almost like this Cienega promenade where we're trying to show there's a linkage between the wetlands pond on south side of North Angel Fire Road, and all the way up to Allen Field. So it's like, it's almost this large. We've got Liberty Square as a center, or the Cienega Plaza, whatever we're gonna hopefully never use Liberty Square. But I'm thinking one of our tasks might be to help consensus planning think through the bigger picture of how it all connects. For example, we know there's a connection of people that are coming down from Alta Road and crossing on the plank bridge that's still missing planks.
It's still cockeyed.
It's still cockeyed. They're coming across from the grocery store, going up across that to get home.
Is that Village Trail?
That's a resort trail. Pat and Trick knows about it, but it's been neglected on that part. So that you have to have a connection from the Alta Mammoth Road side into this plaza area, Village Square. We have to show what it might look like crossing 434. Is that some sort of a better pedestrian bricked crossing or something if it's a promenade to the wetlands park? So I think one of our tasks might be to play with that idea, to give it to the consensus planning so they can make the connection. We're not just talking about Liberty Square, but we're talking about this broader corridor. And they want to have stuff ready to show at Members Weekend. So tying into this is in the comp plan committee is making a recommendation for a town hall, which we're now thinking can happen on the Saturday, June 21st, after the members meeting, and have one of the rooms in the hotel. We've talked with membership about this. Or we would have a town hall where each committee would be tabling. There would be a table for Liberty Square and drawings, there'd be a table for a community vision exercise. There'd be a table for water department, public works, so everyone would have a chance to ask questions about the committees and what they're working on, how it fits into the comprehensive plan, and kind of make that happen. So that's kind of in the works now for June 21st.
Keep me posted on that so we can tag it in.
Yes.
All of our advertising.
Yes, we will,
and
because
stuff.
it's, Greg talked to Kaylin yesterday about
Okay,
trying to, and they were excited
Yeah.
about it, because people are hungry for information. so-
Yeah. I know last year we tried where there was a few tables set up.
Yes,
And, well, you guys.
we had a table there, it was really
That was
successful.
the dinner, and then there was a couple that were wanting to do it Saturday, but yeah, if we just did Saturday after the meeting, I think that sounds like a.
Just an open house, come
Mhm.
talk to folks.
Mhm.
We could bring in the skate park concepts, if there's ideas, we could put that at our table, the park course, all that can be at our Parks and Trails table. Here's things on our mind, we're thinking about, we're talking about, what do you think? So action on Liberty Square, I might take a stab at playing with Google Earth or something and come up with a little promenade concept, and then share with all you guys and get some comments back on what's missing, what could be improved for consensus planning. Sound all right?
Yep.
Okay, you guys have any other comments on last night's discussion?
I understand the resort didn't get the grant for the getting the sediment out of that pond.
Oh, they did not.
No.
Hmm.
So it kind of changed that dynamic there because the pond's now gonna be a big pile of sand at some point.
Well, didn't they say though that they may do it on their own though too? That they didn't get the grant, but
I never heard that. I know they're talking with Allison. Not sure.
How many kiosks are there? One thing about it.
I don't know. I didn't get it.
It's in our existing conditions report.
Yes, but I don't know if we got it.
Please refer to that document you've been provided.
Yeah, one time I think Ronnie was supposed to.
Yeah,
have
Ronnie.
Auditorium and,
Information.
I'll do that,
but I don't think he did.
Okay, moving along, comp plan.
But
We've done, you shared the
here's the
goals.
goals
Okay, you did
Think I
did, okay, oh, good. Okay,
This is just what I compiled from when we did the posters on the wall.
Mhm. Okay, very good. So I will take this and put it into that template that the comp plan committee is asking for, but I think, what I think is, what I'd like to see has happen now is this information would go. We would, for example, on the public, on the town hall, we would have a poster of our goals and objectives and maybe some dot voting on what are the most important goals to community members, what are the most important objectives. At that point, we can come up with the action items. I mean, it's no sense in doing action on all these things unless we know where the priorities are.
Yeah, you know, I think that template, what it goals,
They call them
objectives, and
action
then
items.
implementation.
Yeah, implementation, which is the same as actions, so.
Which some of our objectives here are a combination of
They
an
are.
objective and a combination of a implementation / action.
Well, for example, address adequacy of trailhead signage, access and parking, that's like, okay, that is, but the action items or implementation is how do you address it? What are the steps? Is
Yeah.
it on-site survey? Is it drone footage? Is it the inventory of what's on each sign? So it goes into more detail of the process for each one of those objectives. It's really the process steps. And on identify and advocate for crosswalks and sidewalks, so it seems our information on crosswalks and sidewalks would go to the streets committee, the public works, and then we would say, okay, we're lacking good crosswalks here.
Labeling. and so-
Yeah, we were talking last night and it came up several times about the workforce housing or the affordable housing or the community housing across behind Zeb's. And if there was a pump track in Liberty Square or the recreation facilities, then those folks could easily get to this. But we would need a better 434 crossing there, either a hawk signal, which is the pedestrian oriented flashing lights, or something to illustrate that, and I think we heard that the kids that live across the street in the apartment complex don't ever ride their bikes any further than around the little loop there, because parents are scared to let them go anywhere. So if we have better access across.
You
safer
can kind of
access.
show that in your promenade, at least. Pick
That-
up
yeah,
that, not just concentrate on the creek side, but over.
Yes.
434.
Yeah.
Good connections in. from-
Oliver,
I was gonna ask, I've been a little bit out of the loop, so sorry if I'm.
that's okay.
But, I was wondering where we were as far as thinking about a trail from town to Allen Field. If anything had been kind of worked out with that. Kind of on the same theme.
So the Frank Young Trail we talked about is gonna continue, it's gonna go to the high school and to Allen Fields.
Okay.
So we have money for the planning for that. So we'll go right to Allen Fields, it's gonna come out. The final trail will come out right where this bathroom is, at that end of the field, so you can access both fields. From the 434 side, the main street side, we haven't, I mean, there's been talk about there's road access in there and some right of way, but that hasn't been covered, but definitely from following the sewer line easement, we can show you a map after the meeting of where we'd continue right into Allen Field.
That's really good.
So the kids from the high school can easily walk to soccer practice and it's gonna be all an improved.
Fantastic.
It would go right by that dog park.
Yeah, right
From
between
the
the dog park.
school, which is where.
Yeah,
We have a survey map up here after the meeting. If you want to
Yeah, please.
Look at it.
so yes, there's been activity on that.
Fantastic.
On the markings too, I do believe the chief did bring, and I just can't remember 100%, to the council about putting pedestrian walks that flashed probably at the intersection of 434 North Angel Fire Road.
Really? He brought that up? Oh,
I
good.
think I'll double check with him on that because he's been proactive with signage and he may be able to just get that.
Yeah, they're called hawk signals. It's high activated, something walkable.
Crossing.
It should be all Yeah, I think the major ones, because there's too many, it's getting sign pollution.
But the one down by the church is actually that's the trail.
Right.
That's the same.
Right.
India, it's
Yeah.
trail.
And they're
So you
not
gotta walk
markings
across that.
there.
Yeah, so that's,
They don't even slow down. If you stand there, they just.
I don't think I
I
even
don't-
realized there was a.
That's what I was
cross
gonna
like
say,
that.
I don't think people realize that that trail comes out right there
Yeah.
across
Yeah.
the street.
Well, I take my little girls on that trail, on their starter bikes and.
Yeah,
Crossing.
just paint,
Yeah.
even paint.
It needs more paint, which we gotta get the state to, or the, guess it's a state highway.
Yeah, even it's
to do
painted.
that, but
I mean, I've been there when it's freshly painted, nobody slows down.
it only lasts a couple weeks. I don't know what it is with that
It's
paint
going
they're
down.
using these days, but.
But you need some flashing lights.
it's all environmentally safe paint, you know.
Yeah, right.
It's water-based watercolors from Hobby Lobby or something. Okay, the last item I believe we have is National Trails Day. Is Trekker still?
Yeah, Chris is heading that up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Any
we-
requests?
We're registered with the American Hiking Society, and we got the truckers more or less coordinating this. We're hoping to have some partnership with ECTA, but maybe that won't happen. But also we are going to get some posters and banners up. We have those from years past. And then the main part is to just get it on the calendar of the village and the resort and chamber, and that kind of stuff. So get with Brandon, get with the resort, get with the chamber and stuff, so that everyone's aware of this. And what we hope to do is have a little setup, whether it's at Liberty Square or maybe by the Visitor Center or Frontier Park. Kind of an area where people can get maps, get water, and then we'll have 3 different trails led that day, led later that morning, with an easy trail, perhaps just along the creek, looking at wildflowers or birds or whatever. Kind of a medium trail going up deer and coming back. Elk or bear or what have you, and then a more strenuous trail, either Oesta Vista or Enlightenment, and then we'll have some giveaways and that kind of stuff that the American Hiking Society provides. So that's kind of where we're at, and we got the kind of initial work done. It's just a matter of in the next month or so, kind of coordinating who's doing what on what day. And we're always open to the committee helping out on this too, so.
An opportunity for a work day at the same time, do you think? Something on a resort trail, one of the Greenbelt trails, just do a 6 or 8 people might want to do a work day.
Yeah, yeah. We got all the tools for that, so.
We weren't focused on necessarily a work day. There's always a matter of training and that kind of stuff. But we'll have plenty of work days throughout the summer because we've adopted the Elliott Barker Trail, and we're still working on that throughout the summer.
Okay.
I don't know how thrilled people would be if you hand them a shovel, work.
Some national trail designations are just volunteer work days. So let's just keep this one friendly and hiking, and then it can also promote. You can also promote other work
Well,
days
we
with
could-
the volunteers.
Well, part of it, our booth there, we can promote that we do work and that we've adopted
Yeah.
Elliott Barker.
Have some shovel
We
there,
could even-
some pickaxe and stuff.
Maybe we can even have some designated work days set up, and if people, want to
Yeah.
sign up for
Volunteer.
future work days.
I think we
Yeah,
should
this
talk
was-
about a bike ride too, right? Chris,
Yeah, that's correct. If we can coordinate a bike a lead bike trail, we'd want to do that also. But yeah, this is definitely more, let's have a fun recreation National Trails Day, because we haven't had one in this village for many years. And so it's just to get it on people's radars. But we also want to get in the Enchanted Circle news so that, we have as broad a communication as possible.
Great work, thank you. Well done. Okay, wrap up. reviewing action items, just a quick thing, we got,
Can I have on the assigned task and action items on the Frank Young Trail extension? I don't know if Matt or somebody maybe could reach out to Patrick and kind of clarify what which way the resort is leaning as far as where they would like to see the trail go through their property. Maybe then we can have a outing again, try to get ahead of that to have those options moving forward.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Awesome.
Yeah, cause I mean, it may be that no discussions are going on, you know,
Like
Patrick had
fire.
been busy.
Yeah.
Because this
I'm
here,
wondering-
193, if we go to 193, it doesn't vary too much, but it takes it off that route to 92.
I think 193 is the main area that we'd be going through, which is where the sewer is, and I think they're talking 194, 192 is where they would like us to stay on, but I don't know for sure.
okay,
The two lots you brought up was 192, 193.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, that's what Patrick brought up. He was gonna get the kids on it.
at our last meeting, I believe, Rocky mentioned he was willing to prepare a presentation for Mr. Kitts, and I haven't heard any more about that.
Yeah.
And it might be better.
I had talked to Brett about that just because I thought it may be better to provide something official to them as like a visionaries that was. But Patrick's, I mentioned that they, you know. That they're probably not interested in that.
Okay. Okay. All right, so reviewing actions, back to where we're, so first off, is there a need for a policy on memorial plaques, rocks on the resort or the village trails? That's just an agenda item we can put in for a future date. That's kind of a bike walker thought that we have a conversation about. Let's see, the parkour stuff, the village clerk will share that presentation with our committee. So we'll have the link to that presentation and the Instagram thing. And then we had action item, share the stake scope of work with Rocky and with Santos that we developed. On Frank Young, Matt will reach out to Patrick again to continue conversation about 192, 193. On the trail map, Tim is gonna prepare a recommendation for our, what the committee would like to see from a trail map. And that'll require all you guys to have a response by our next meeting. So we can have a final draft from you at the next meeting. So that's an action is to share that draft and everyone reviews it. Okay, Liberty Square, I'm gonna work on a promenade concept that either through Google Earth or some other sketch method that we'll comment on. We can give it to the consensus planning. I think we're doing good on everything else.
And the goal, you're gonna put the goals in.
Yeah, and action, the goals I'll put into the template that was requested by the comp plan committee on that. Okay, agenda items for next meeting, anything?
How many board members are we looking to see? New board members? Two, max?
Two, yeah, two more.
Max,
Yeah.
okay.
Other agenda items?
We're gonna try to get Lauren here.
Yeah.
Matt was gonna follow up, but
Yeah, I'll work on that as well.
That does, I'm very proactive, thinking about adaptive trail assessments, and I think that ties in with, having ACTA help with that as well, so that's still good, ties in with this whole mapping business.
I would think for the agenda next time, we wanna have some of these ones continue on, like the status where we're
Yeah.
at with Franklin extension, of course, where we're at with the trail maps.
Okay,
maybe have that to, then I know. You're gonna do since you're gonna do your, promenade thing, I want to discuss
yeah.
where we're at with that.
Any,
Liberty Square.
yeah, so any other things, any other topics, new topics, discussion ideas we learned about, we learned about parkour parks today. Anything else out there we wanna, talk about, discuss?
Do we
Any
want
updates on-
do we want to, as a committee, discuss kind of that overall scope and programming that you spoke about earlier about being able to present at the next, I guess there's going to be another comp plan, or not comp plan meeting, but for Liberty Square, do we want to have a conversation as a committee to see what do we want all of it to look like? Like, what's our ideas from Allen Fields to Liberty Square, then heading down south, etc.
Yes. So by then, let's say I'll prepare this kind of concept sketch of the promenade idea from Allen Fields to the wetlands area, including Liberty Square, and we can spend some time on that, looking at graphics and details on that.
The other one I was thinking too is I didn't know since it'll be May if Shay wants to give us
Oh, she has some-
schedule of events.
Right, she wanted that on the next agenda.
Yeah, cause I emailed her on that
Right.
to see if she could probably
Okay.
let us know what's happening as far as recreation goes.
Okay, and then Shay programming. Good, all right, date for next meeting. We'll wrap up here in a minute.
We need to meet sooner to kind of focus on Frank Young. Just seems like there's not a lot of momentum if we're just meeting monthly on that.
May, hopefully, if Matt talks to Patrick, maybe we can do a work, field
Okay,
outing, right?
And combine that with, make sure the statement of work's got forwarded on and we're getting
yeah,
quotes. Yeah, cause if we wait till a month from now, we get the same deal, well, then we're waiting on quotes or something like that, we've lost a whole month.
you wanna try to do something in 2 weeks, a quick 1 hour session or something, or,
Yeah, maybe hopefully it could include an outing.
okay,
So that would be when, May 1st.
what day was that, a Thursday?
Thursday, be 2 weeks from today.
Okay, let's try that.
The whole day's open. What time?
Well, we might as well just,
Keep it same, 8:30,
Sure.
probably 8:30 and 9:30 here, then go to the field if we can, right?
yeah,
Okay, and the focus, we're just gonna focus on Frank Young and the promenade, Todd, that's the only thing we're gonna focus on for that. Okay, last item, top 3 things that we need to relay to council at their next meeting through a report. What would the top 3 things be?
The bathroom and lot progress is one. Is that a good one? I guess Kurt could probably elaborate on that too.
Okay,
probably in the status of Frank Young, when you think, I mean, that's what we primarily.
okay, request for recreation focused people.
Yeah.
And do you want to mention the 4th thing might be NTD activities? We're planning, or
Sure.
Yeah.
kudos
Yeah.
to trackers. They might even mention the parkour thing, just to get it in the heads of more people.
Sure.
Who's making this presentation?
These are just the bullet points, so every council meeting, the council liaisons are expected to do an update on committee activities.
Yep.
And Brett told us that last year he's only heard from 10 reports overall.
I've been waiting and waiting for the Frank Young Trail. I mean, we'll have to have a ribbon cutting when that happens.
So, I'm, in both of my committees, we're now, as a committee, we're just identifying the 3 or 4 bullets that we want our liaison to present to council. So council knows what's going on. Everything's still siloed. All the committees are still siloed. So that was one thing with Frank, with the Liberty Square, is trying to get the comprehensive plan committee and the rec trails committee and Lodger Stacks committee to get together, because they're all thinking, there's all ties into Liberty Square. So we're trying to unsilo all the work we're doing. Okay, so you, and then the request I have for you is, if you could at least put out, in a quick email, the bullets he needs and our action items and who, what, when, so we don't wait till a month to remember what we're supposed to do.
So what are,
Frank Young Trail Extension, parkour. And that's all you need to tell me, and I think I can.
Request for recreation focused people, we want to expand our committee.
Yeah.
And the NTD activities that the truckers are working on.
Yeah, and with that, maybe we can be the National Trails Day. Sure. And I'll let people know.
I think it's June
that's-
7th.
Yeah, first Saturday in June.
Give me that date as well.
Yeah, June 7th.
Yeah, I'll share information with the committee so everyone's on board.
Okay, for the good of the cause, anything last minutes, are we good to call it a day? Okay, call it a day. Thanks for you guys' participation.